designer blouse was left open stylishly to display just a hint of cleavage. Her rust suede skirt was slit to the thigh in front to reveal tantalizing glimpses of shapely limbs, emphasized by knee-length high-heeled boots. She looked about as lethal as a baby fresh from its evening bath. He took the envelope and rose slowly. "In that case, I'll feel safe to leave you in charge," he said solemnly, his eyes twinkling. "You watch sharp now." He moved briskly to the elevator and pressed the button for the penthouse, leaving Kelly to stare after him with satisfaction mixed with a tinge of displeasure. It certainly wasn't the first time she had encountered indulgent condescension from the male sex, she thought crossly, but still it never failed to irritate her. She was well aware that her size and general air of fragile femininity were deceptive. But it took a good deal of effort to convince men of that. Most of the time she found it wasn't worth the effort and saved her strength for the more important battles that faced a woman photojournalist in a field dominated by men. When she was first starting out, she thought her image was very important, and trying to look anything but delicate and feminine, she'd chosen a wardrobe of only pantsuits and jeans. But she soon found that she was defeating her purpose. The day she had overheard herself described as cute and cuddly in a pair of shapeless bib overalls, she'd grimly abandoned that fruitless strategy. This afternoon, she was wearing the most sophisticated outfit in her entire wardrobe. Even it hadn't caused the security guard to treat her with respect for her maturity, she mused. It certainly didn't bode well for her coming confrontation with Nick O'Brien, who was a much more dangerous proposition. She had done extensive, in-depth research on O'Brien before approaching him for this interview. What she had learned would have intimidated her under normal circumstances. If only it weren't for that blasted bet she'd made with her editor, Mac Devlin. Then she chuckled and shook her head ruefully. She wasn't being honest with herself. The more difficult or dangerous an assignment, the more she enjoyed it, and Mac had known that when he'd made that damned bet with her. She was well aware that Devlin was manipulating her, but the challenge had been irresistible when he had thrown the assignment at her and sweetened it with a wager that he knew she couldn't refuse. When she'd returned from the Mideast 6 weeks earlier and had to be hospitalized with a bout of malaria, Mac had adamantly refused to give her any further overseas assignments for at least 6 months. Despite her pleas, threats, and constant nagging, he had remained unmoved for 3 weeks. Then he'd dangled the lifting of the ban as his part of the wager she was now engaged in. If she lost the bet, she was to accept his edict and cease her efforts to change his mind. "You were right, Miss McKenna," the security guard said genially, as he stepped from the elevator. "Mr. O'Brien said you were to go right up." "I just bet he did," Kelly thought. "Step into my parlor," said the spider to the fly. She squared her shoulders and rewarded the guard with a warm smile. "Thank you. You've been very kind," she said sincerely, stepping into the elevator and pressing the button. When she got out of the elevator, she took one final deep breath and composed her features into an expression, she hoped, of bland sophistication. Then she knocked firmly on the paneled teak door of O'Brien's apartment. It was opened immediately by the man himself, and Kelly felt her mouth fall open in surprise before she quickly regained her composure. Nick O'Brien's dazzling good looks were quite familiar to her, for she had been observing him for 3 weeks, but she had never seen him at such close range or seen quite so much of him. The man was wearing nothing but a white bath towel, which was wrapped casually about his hips, and he was as unconcerned as if he were dressed in black tie and tails. Though if more men possessed such overpoweringly virile physiques, perhaps nudity would have been the mode, Kelly thought dazedly. She had never before seen such a gorgeous man. A little over 6 feet, he was all bronze, muscular power. A triangular pelt of springy dark hair covered his broad chest, before narrowing to a thin line and disappearing into the towel draped around his hips.